Hi, this is a review of the GoolRC C12 electric RC car, monster truck they call it, off-roader. It's a 1/12 scale remote control car. Doesn't look like a monster truck to me, looks more like a little desert racer, dune buggy kind of a thing. And there's a couple things you look for when you go to remote control cars, and one of the first is whether it's two-wheel drive or four-wheel drive. This one's two-wheel drive, so you're not going to be able to tackle as many of the obstacles as you might be able to with the four-wheel drive. The other is the overall speed that you're going to get on it, and that's where this thing's kind of interesting, because it's one of the first cars that I've seen that you can actually dial down the speed, which could be a good thing if you're using it as a first-time RC car driver or for younger kids. I think the listing on Amazon here said for 14 and older, and for other cars I would agree. This one I think you can get by with younger kids because of the fact that you can dial down the speed, where I've tested out other cars where there's no way I could drive them around my house. They would just go hitting into walls, bouncing off things because they're just way too fast. No matter how much you wanted to just hit the throttle a little, they went flying. And this does that when you've got it on the full speed mode. But when you have it dialed down, there is absolutely no problem driving this thing around fairly slowly. So it would be good for somebody that's just learning how to do the RC car thing, younger kids in that. Definitely give this thing a try, just because of the fact that you can adjust the overall speed that the thing's putting out. When it's at full speed, maybe 15 to 20 miles an hour, maybe not quite what they had at the 35 kilometers an hour. I think if my math is right, that'd be about maybe 22 miles an hour. So maybe at a full charge going, slightly downhill, you might be able to hit that. But again, it depends on how fast you have the device dialed in at. It seems to be a really well-made device. Hit a few things with it, of course, because that's what you're going to do with RC cars. You've got a nice bumper here. The wheels are nice and squishy, so you can run into things, and they act as a nice little barrier there. They've got some decent shocks on here. And one of the things that I was impressed with is in the instruction booklet itself. It shows you exactly how the car is put together, which is kind of unique, and it shows you the different parts in that you can get. But the fact that they show you exactly how to reassemble this thing if you need to, and if you're like me, eventually you'll need to repair something, so it's nice to have that in the instruction booklet. So even though it is seemingly aimed at the beginner market, you should be able to last a nice long time, especially if you want to do some of your own mods with it. It does take a rechargeable battery. The compartment's right here on the bottom. You hit there's two little tabs. You push those in, and you slide that up. So inside you have looks like a couple of flashlight batteries in here, which connects through a little connector on the inside. I like the fact some of the older, versions of these cars, you had to have a screw, which never quite worked all that well. There we go. To hold the battery compartment in. This one, no screw, so it's easy to get in and out. Definitely you'll want extra batteries, because at full speed these things last about 10 minutes or so. We'll hit the power switch there. Just turn that on. There is a little LED in the unit, which is nearly impossible to see with any lights on and that, so don't expect the thing to light up or have any headlights or anything. But there is a little LED that'll be showing through this PVC or whatever the cover's made of. I think it is a PVC. It's a very lightweight plastic on the top. And the remote control itself is nice and easy to use. It's a simple trigger mechanism, so forward and back. You've got an on-off switch. There's a mode button here, which it's got modes 1 through 4. I can't figure out. It doesn't seem like that button does anything. The instruction booklet says nothing about it, so I'm assuming this is a controller that's possibly used with other cars, and it may do something with other cars. but not this one. It does take 4 AAA batteries. We've got that loaded up with rechargeables on the bottom. And we'll turn the power switch on. The only other controls on this device would be, there's a trim control and the throttle control on the bottom. So the trim control is all about keeping the vehicle going in the right direction. The throttle control is what I was telling you about as far as being able to dial down the speed on the device. So we'll let you see this here. If we can show both of these at the same time, you can go backwards, forwards, and you can see it is 2-wheel drive. Backwards, forwards, and you use this as a steering wheel to control. Hopefully we're getting all this in the, maybe back up a little bit. It is very responsive, which is a good thing. Now, the intriguing thing is that throttle, which if I can, should have probably moved my keyboard out of the way first. You kind of put this down here in front, and well, I can push this down all the way. Now, if I hit that, if I can push this down, I'm trying to do 3 things at a time. Push this down and, let's see, what's the easiest way for this to work here? Hold this thing, here, let's do this. Let's hug the thing. This could cause an injury, I can tell you right now. As we push this down and we pull the throttle all the way back, this is me depressing all the way down with the throttle all the way down. You can see the wheels aren't spinning that much. As we turn that little throttle up, if anything, you can hear that. And the throttle back down, the throttle up. So it's kind of an interesting thing there where you can control just how fast this thing goes by controlling the throttle. Let me turn this off here so I don't do any more damage to myself, the unit, the camera, or anything else here in the office. So it's an interesting device. For that reason alone, it's great for beginners. You can dial that throttle down and have it so it barely moves if you want, almost, so you can drive that through a a basement area or through a living room, dining room. You got a lot of traffic. You want to teach the kids how to use a remote control car. You can do it at a speed that's not going to cause damage. So that's absolutely a selling factor, I would think, for beginners. Now, if you've been using these things for years and you don't need to learn how to drive them, you may not really want that kind of throttle control. But it's an interesting thing that I haven't seen on many. This may be actually the first one that I've ever seen that on. There's a few spare parts that come in the box, which is good. And it does come with a charger. Simple little wall wart. The battery plugs in on this end. And you can order more batteries if you want. They last about 10 minutes, so I would definitely recommend picking up a few spare batteries while you're at it. So overall, it's an interesting little car. Again, if you're an expert, you may not like the 2-wheel drive. You may want something with more power and more torque. A car that I tested out a week or 2 ago was about twice the price, but I could put it down on our wood floors and immediately hit the throttle and have the thing doing donuts. This doesn't have quite that much power to it, but for a beginner, I think it definitely has more than enough power, more than enough speed. The range seems to be about the same as most cars, somewhere in the 70 to 100 yards away you can go with it. So usually up and down the street, up and down your yard, no problem as far as the range goes. So for a beginner, I think this absolutely is perfect. If you're a remote control enthusiast, this probably isn't the car for you, but if you're looking to get somebody into the sport, into driving these things, definitely give this car a look. It seems to be great for beginners, and it's a whole lot of fun. If you're like me and somebody that just likes to play around with these things, knowing that you know, at some point I'm going to run it into a wall or into a snowbank or something and destroy it. At currently, you know, at 65 bucks, it's affordable enough to where you don't have to worry that you're going to destroy anything. It is not waterproof. They say everything is pretty much water resistant except the motor. So I wouldn't drive this into a snowbank, and if you do, make sure you dry it completely before you try using it again, so it's not completely waterproof. You know, but otherwise it seems like it can handle, you know, dirt very well. Before I got this thing, I did watch a few other videos online. People had it out in the desert, were doing some drifting with it and sliding it around and getting the thing absolutely filthy, and it had absolutely no problem. So I haven't even stress tested it anywhere near that much as of yet, but it was good seeing somebody else do it. It definitely made me feel a little more, you know, comfortable with the quality of this car. Anyway, going to give this one a recommended rating to everybody except very advanced RC guys. They may want to find something a little more advanced. But otherwise, a great car, great price, works. The controls work the way they should. Absolutely perfect for a beginner. Give it a try. Again, this has been a review of the GoolRC C12. I am Darren O'Neill. Thanks for watching.